Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on a financial planning app for medium to long-term use. And the feature we're working on lately is date assumptions. So you'd like to be able to say things like, I'm going to retire in 2027. My salary will stop at that point. And then maybe a different one that says, when am I going to start taking Social Security? Maybe that's 2032, and see the impact of that. And you can easily change those numbers. All right, we did some, we got the core of it basically going, but there's things we need to refine. So we're going to look at those. And I know we have some refactoring around that and kind of refining the insides too. All right, I just ran tests and I just ran the app. So some things we saw. So initial value of picker should set the value. So something's going on a little bit weird at startup. The date description's a little awkward. This is a refactoring. We have two different approaches being used in a view, and let's make them the same. We allow you to duplicate assumption names, which I don't think we should do. I kind of don't think you should change it either. And we have something annoying. When you're showing years, it puts in commas. So 2020 is 20 or 2 comma 020. All right. I think beyond that, there's more general refactorings and error stuff. Okay. Let's look at this picker issue first. So I think this was when you create a new one and you say it's an assumed date and it picks last day of work. Let's give the required fields and see what happens. Okay. I don't think I have a job 3. Let's say it's worth $750 a month. Okay. And we'll create that. And we expect the assumptions to say this starts on the last day of work. Well, maybe it's well, that's okay. Right, job 3 has nothing there. Okay, so something's not right. Now we only have, we have 2 choices. So I think if I do this and update it, yeah, so let's try adding it again. Job 4, 654. Oops. Assume date. Let's do this. Change it back. That. Right. So it's apparently something's not being initialized properly. Mudshark may have even noticed exactly where it was. I did not. Okay, assumptions view. I guess edit assumption view. So this one gets called whether you're creating one or creating a new one or editing an old one. Okay, so you pass in the assumption, which is either the old or a brand new one. Okay, we pull the values from it. Oh, this is probably okay. This is creating it. I'm sorry, I want the date specifier view. Okay, this is the one that we know is a little goofy from a refactoring point of view. It does things 2 ways. Okay, so we come in. Now, we didn't come in with the... Well, I'm not sure what we come in with. All right, it's coming in unspecified, and we're setting it to assume date, but that didn't do enough to set it. Okay, so we call update spec when it changes, but we don't call update spec when it first starts. Okay, so you select it on change of date type. Well, that doesn't quite sound right. Okay, this one is the 4 buttons across the top. So if you select, well, oh no, that's true. Assumption does not do anything at that point. Okay, so maybe this 4 modes thing is worse than I thought. Let's see what that update date spec. And then within AssumedDateView, let's make sure something happens there. We do build it from the selection. Yeah, I think maybe I pulled out that view too quickly. The update spec. I mean, it's reasonable to say, well, no, it's not, is it? I mean, just selecting this. Okay, so we know the new date type, and we're just trying to get the date spec locked in from the initial value. Now, I suppose you've selected this as well. Okay, I'm slightly confused. All right, so if I do this, that's January 2020, and I hit create. Now, if I hit create, I did not actually change anything here. January 2020. Okay. Now, that feels consistent because month actually loads back the date, month, year. Age does not. So let's see if we have a similar problem there. Let me just delete some of these. All right, so if I take age, Liza 60. Well, that works. Okay. Let's see what age selector does. Okay, it binds into the date spec. Has a default value. Okay, update values creates the date, updates the date spec. Okay, person age does all the work. You got the picker. On change, it calls update values. Well, we didn't update any. We didn't change anything. So why would that have updated? On appear. Oh. Person. Okay. So that gets you at least the person and a default age. Okay. Well, let's see if we need to do something similar for us. Nope. Assumption view. No, I'm in the wrong one. AssumedDateView. Well, I think maybe we should be doing the same kind of thing we do in the age. Like if we're assumed to be filling in this thing, however they selected it. And that's on the person age is the top level content one that when there is content. Okay, so this thing. Okay, so the equivalent would be doing it here. Now, did that do update values? No, it just assigned something. Sorry, people is of state. No. Person is state. Okay, so we default to the first one. And I don't think we kept I think we got rid of that first name thing. Yeah. We know that's legit because that's what we look at to decide whether to show it or not. Okay. Date assumption to the first in the list if it is nil. Yeah, I think you're right. So default age is set and it on appear does the work. So I think this should do it. So we're saying when you first open up, well, that's still not quite right because if it's an edit, it should have the one it already has. Date spec. Oh, wait a minute. Are we doing this in the right here? So we set the selection based on the assumed date if it exists. So if it's an edit, let's look at assumed date name. If it's an assumption. All right, so I don't know. So when I first start, I should have selection set to that value. Let me take this out and do a little debugging. I always forget that I can debug the view code. I guess we'll stop here. And this part seems right to me, because if it's an edit, we definitely want to take whatever name is in there. And if it's a new one, okay, that may well be, but like selection, okay, we'll find out, I guess. All right, so let's set some stuff. Okay, so I'm going to hit assumed date, and we're expecting that should trigger this stop. Okay, so let's look at date spec. Wow, what does that even mean? Oh, that's the binding. No. Unchanged. Okay, so we started off unchanged. We're coming in. And now datespec.wrap value. That should be nil. Okay, let's step over. So theoretically, that should be assumptions.shared.names in the first one out of this, last day of work. Okay, so selection. It's not a right value. Okay. Last day of work. Well, that seems like it's set. Oh, maybe we're not. We set the selection, but nothing changes the date spec. I mean, I think we need to do that. I don't know if we can call that from the constructor. Every language has their own different rules about this, and I get too balled up on it. Okay, I'm going to take this one out. Yeah, onChange is never triggered, right? Can't remember what I used already. Okay, so this should trigger our call. Step, and now let's look at DateSpec. Unchanged. What is going on? Okay, so underscore DateSpec is the binding in the initializer. So we're setting the binding to the incoming binding. But somehow we're at the end of the routine and we called update values, but it didn't update DateSpec. I don't know. It's also funny about if you set things twice and stuff like that. All right, so I don't know if we can say self.dateSpec. Let's just do this here directly. Okay. Now maybe that on appear maybe should have that job. I don't know. Okay, so click here should trigger the call. I'll step over this one. Okay, so if we look at selection, last day of work. Okay, and now let's look at self.dateSpec. He's unchanged. Well, what happens if assumed date name is defined? That's the case when you're editing. So it should come in and use that as the default. But that clause should, because it's coming in as an unchanged, because we just switched tabs, assumed date name is going to be is nil. And so we go on to shared names. So, I mean, it's clearly trying to select that. Well, I mean, maybe this is on appears doing the right thing. I guess I'm saying we can't do it. We can't do it in the initialization, apparently. Yeah, it's double nil. Sorry, that's maybe a little awkward of a construct. I don't know. I tend to like this kind of format for it, but or even this. I don't know if it'll take that. Okay, but I think on appear. Let's do the on appear. And I don't know if that took arguments. No. Okay. I think we want to say update values. I'm going to take that breakpoint out. All right, so our hope is this will create with last day of work. $224, last day of work. Okay, yeah, that's... Well, that's probably the best way to do things. I don't know. I have to, I've never really sat down and read the Swift programming language guide end to end. I mean, I've probably read every page of it by now, but just never sat down and read it. And, these gaps in my understanding of what can you do in initialization and, various other things. I mean, how do you initialize parent fields or stuff like that? All right, so that looks okay. Now let's check the editing. So editing, it comes in with the right value. We're going to take the other value. I don't anticipate a problem, but just do want to test it under that circumstance. Okay. Yeah. And let's make sure that really is at 2000. Yep. Okay. Kind of an unlikely date considering it's in the past. All right. Good. Okay. So yeah, I think we've hit that. So we'll take the assumed date name if it's there. In other words, you're editing. If it's not, we'll take the first name off the list. Otherwise, we'll take an empty one. And empty one. Well, I guess we won't get in. Yeah, empty one won't matter because if it's empty, we get the content unavailable view. So there's no value coming back. I suppose you could insist on it, but it wouldn't mean anything. Well, let's do that. This may be a little more of a corner case. Let's go to the assumptions. We're going to take out our two assumptions. I think we're going to get a selector warning. No, we're not. I don't know what we'll get. All right, so now I have no assumptions in there. I get the content unavailable view. What if I take it anyway? Oh, I can't create because I don't have, oh, that's because I haven't done anything else. All right, so I can create it. And that's 227. And it leaves it null. Okay, that seems fair. Let's edit it. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. All right. So initial value of picker should set the value on AssumedDateView. Okay, let's see which of these we want to do. Improve date description. That would be nice. And that kind of goes with this. I'm not sure what I quite want. I mean, that is awkward, but it's okay. Oh, I've deleted everything. That, I think, should maybe be blank at this point. Now, this sort of reflects... Well, yeah, because of this reference is a string, and now I'm recreating this variable. It's sort of like it's going to put it into existence. Okay. Yeah, now it's okay. I think that's okay the way we're doing it. I don't know that it's the best possible way, but I guess I'm conscious that I'm trying to finish this program this week and don't want to take on a major change to keep that all synchronized. I probably should have done it that way in the first place. But if you deleted something, well, I mean, one thing we could do is when you delete an assumption, we zip through everything and we look for ones that don't work anymore. And I'm not sure what we would do at that point, but we should do something. But that's a separate thing. Now I'm trying to work on, oh, how weird. This doesn't have a comma. This does. Okay. I must be formatting this with a number formatter that is inappropriate. Okay, so this is, I guess this is LeiaView. Okay, so there's the Leia, the active, there's the name, date, description. Oh, that's not the assumption. Sorry, I was looking at the assumption. Int value with a suffix. Well, I could see a case to put these in here because notice these, they don't put the percents on even though they're a percent range. So let me do that. All right, that should put the percents on, and it'll also, it's clear to me the text is doing this number formatting because we just had text of assumption.max, and it took that int value and it said, okay, I'm going to put it through a number formatter and put a comma in. But when we did it in the method call, there. Well, when we do it in the method call, we're turning it into a string directly with this, not as text. Value double. Oh, that value has to be, okay. Huh. Yeah, we did, we had the relative amount, did something allowing things that don't exist, that we have the relative amount where you can say this thing is some percentage of the value of that stream or that asset or whatever. And again, you could make up an asset name that doesn't exist yet, and we don't enforce it. In a way, that's nice because you're just entering stuff. You don't want to screw with it, and you happen to have one in the wrong order, it's like, well, that's okay. But in terms of getting warnings that you're making a mistake, it's not very good at all. All right, do I want to cast these or do I want to... Okay, let me make one that's int. Yeah. Sorry, number formatting is not done by the slider. It's done. It's basically done by me. I'm sticking that number in there. They don't put numbers in by default. So the brackets and these numbers I put in. All right. But I think the reason it got funny, I think text is being very smart. And so when I had a text of assumption.min, \assumption.min, I think the text says, oh, I better call the default number formatter or whatever one you have in use for your, your locale. So I think that's being done there, but the conversion by string doesn't do that. But I may be wrong. I don't know. That's weird. Because we are doing a string conversion. How would it know it wasn't a string conversion here? I'm not sure. But I can tell this works, so I like that. All right, now it doesn't work here. Last day of work, currently 2025. Oh, that does work there. Okay. That wasn't the problem. It was the other one. All right. Well, I think that fixes this. It's mostly a little visual tweak. Yeah, I think it must do something like that with what it has. I don't know the mechanism fully though, I'll admit. Okay, improved date description. So I guess I was finding this last day of work 2025. It's slightly clunky there, but it's really clunky here. So let's update this. So it's well, one thing is just putting the year. We default that to January, and usually we say it. I don't have any real dates visible. Let's put one in. Okay, so we say Jan 2040. We don't have the Jan there, and then this dash is almost meaningful when you put in a bunch of text. I think it would be better to say last day of work. Maybe currently is okay. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's a if you're formatting the range, we do some work for that. Let's find that. I don't know what has range in it. Date range. Range view. Nope. Well, maybe it is LeiaView. Okay, just too much stuff. I mean, I have a range, don't I? Date range. Okay, there we go. So right now it's very, well, it doesn't pay attention to first versus last. Yeah, they both should. So I think what it should say Well, what would be nice if it said? Maybe that's what it is. I think it should say last day of work, currently 2025, Jan 2025. I don't know how I want to say last day of work again. Like I want to say last day of work, January 2025 to January 2025, last day of work, or something like that. I don't know. Does that sound stupid? Or maybe it should say January 2025 to, well, let's make it the other one so we got some variety. Oh, I only have one assumption. What did I call it? SS starts. But that's happened to me before too, where it just disappears real quick. Oh, these could create date assumption should have that too. 20. All right, so an alternative would be, so I don't think this, well, okay, I'm going through the options. The unchanged, it just puts an empty space. So it'll just say dash. And I thought it would take into account, oh, if they're both dashes, it leaves it out. Okay. And if one's a dash, it says dash 2020. If the other is, it says 2020 dash. All right. The year one, I think that's okay. This is the one that's confusing. And I also think, oh, this is date range description. Okay, I think that's a good place to fix it. If it's always return nothing. And unchanged corresponds to always. Right, we're not looking at date specifier. Now I could leave out the 2020. I mean, I could make this say like, well, it could say last day of work to Social Security starts. All right, we could just leave out the currently stuff. Maybe that would be better. Yeah, I think it would. Is that coming from range? Yeah. All right, and I'm going to do one of these reverse things. We probably have a test for it. And so I'll change it this way and make sure the tests trigger. And if nothing triggers, then we'll have to wonder what's going on. Good. All right, a date spec. That's where we'd want it to be. Now, I don't know if there's something that should indicate that it's an assumption. I mean, I could put it in little brackets. Would that look good. Bracket last day at work 2/2042. Bracket last day at work dash bracket Social Security. It would tell you something. I mean, I guess it's clear enough it's a date kind of thing. Let me do that. All right, well, let's make sure that passes and then I'll play with it. Moving currently, put parental on the value. Yeah. Yeah, I could kind of see that too. All right, I'm gonna put guillaume in there. I never get this without triggering the voice thing. Kind of unfortunate overload from my perspective. I don't know where to put all that. Oh, you're gonna make me look for it. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate it's going on to 2 lines, but I don't think we can escape it because the variables are big enough. We don't restrict them too much. I don't know. I wouldn't think it's a math symbol. Punctuation, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what that is. A heart exclamation point, okay. I mean, math probably has one. I wouldn't think that's the one that they're using in French. Big fancy ones. Well, I guess they would do. Oh, yeah, there it did screw that up. Well, that's an idea, yeah. Well, we're using age for that now. Age is using that, but maybe that's okay. It's not so terrible. Yeah, let's put oh no, how did I get that before? Assumption not current, okay. Yeah, I think that's not bad. I don't think it'll grow. Well, it expands, right? Because we didn't do anything to make it support the second line. Yeah, I think that'll look nice enough. Or maybe I should put the I could put January 2025 parentheses last day of work. Yeah, maybe that would be better. Let's flip it around. And then I don't need these fancy brackets really for that. Yeah, I think that's the best so far. We'll let this fail again, I guess. And we want it to say... All right, and then where do we make... I'm putting Jan, but I guess that's implicit in the assumed date. Yeah. Which is okay. All right. I think that's an improvement. And then let's drag some and see what the effect is. Oh, that's a bad range. Yeah. Okay, I think that's good. All right, maybe we're to this refactoring. Got the timing of it all. Okay. Refactor DateSpecifierView, so we use the same approach. So let's get this over here. Yeah. Okay, so I think this is reflecting the way it grew, because originally there was originally there was no date specification. It just assumed every possible date, and then we added the month year stuff, and then from there we added the age and the assumptions. And I think the deal is the month year stuff has a relatively simple display. Well, we just have text for this one, and we do have a month year view, and it's got on change. Huh. Yeah. So it did it all here, and then as it got more complicated with these other things, we pushed more into those views. So I'd like to well, I was assuming we'd have to extract month year out. I think it's really just this update thing. If date specifier type is unchanged. Well, I think that's what he's effectively saying. Update date spec month year. Month year. Change a picker, update this. Okay. Well, remove none as default name. Yeah, let's do that too. Maybe let's take that before we take the other. Assumption. So I think an empty one is the best choice. I don't know if that'll break anybody. There may be somebody relying on bracket none. We don't put a date in by default, so there's no nobody will have to worry about that being there. I don't remember what we did on assumptions. Well, this one uses blank. The good thing about blank is it's a required entry, and so they'll be forced to write the thing in. This should mostly affect the view, but there may be somebody that was assuming the name was none. Okay, good. Okay, I should make a change in here. That was probably a little greedy. Okay. All right. Well, I think the first step is let's make a month year act like age and assume date. And so this, he should take the date spec coming in. This should be state on month year. Whoops. This should be state on month year. Because if it's not a month year, we don't need it. So it tells you it's kind of wrong. Sorry, it's month year view. I'm going to put him in there. Oh, we bind to that. Okay. Well, I'm going to pass an extra binding. So at binding var date spec of date spec. And now the caller has to pass that in. Okay, and that should work. Something's wrong. Okay. Okay. Preview, yep. Where's he going to get the date spec? Okay, I'm puzzled why person view. Oh, that's the birth date. Yeah, let's open person. Person does not have a date spec. Person has a month year. I'm not sure the best way to do this. I mean, one thing we can do is well, I'm going to pass something for now. I'm going to make it unspecified. Oh, unchanged. Thank you. All right, so this is creating an empty one, but we're relying on month year being set on the way back. I think maybe maybe we can grow this to only return the date specifier and let this thing pull it out of the date specifier instead of off there. It's really a yeah. We'll try that. Okay. Still missing one. Oh. We'll just do constant for now. I think that's how you do it. Yeah. So we haven't looked at people in a while. Okay, let's edit this. That first time I click, it always messes up. That's weird. Liza. Something's wrong. They clearly exist. I'm not sure what this means. That's probably what's marking my problem. But this is weird. Why is Liza not being shown? I'm going to revert and investigate. I want to make sure that didn't slip in before here. Ooh. What? Now this is one of those. You can basically bet that this is telling you about some problem that's nowhere near this. This is probably okay. I think I screwed it up. I think I started modifying before. I think this used to call update date spec. Why is it running if it has this problem? Is that an old message? We did have that message at one point. Why do you run if that's a problem? I think that is presented variable and observed object. Is presenting. Okay. Well, this appears to be a real problem. I can't quite guess why. Okay, it's something in this. Has the binding, That's fine. Oh, now you're okay? All right. Let's find that is presenting. Well, let's finish this. Okay. So the question is DateSpecifierView. Okay. I'm not sure which view it was. Move the sheet to the root view outside navigation link. Yeah, I mean, we're not generally using navigation view. We're using sheets, which should just do it. Who calls edit person? Is it PeopleView? It's showing create view. I believe I set that false. Yeah, that starts out false. All right, I'm kind of lost here. So dismiss the environment variable should be triggered by the isSheet stuff, right? So if this value is true, it opens the view and sets the dismiss to the routine to close it. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to cure that then. And it's not doing it now, or apparently. Well, I didn't do this one, did I? That's not the edit. Person is edit presented. Starts false. Is it presented edit person view with person? Well, let's oh, that's a view. got person.name. That's person. Well, does the same thing happen over here and I just didn't notice? That's inflation. That's ROI. Let's look at person again. Well, I guess I could stop here. Okay. Theoretically, I'm attached, right? The person is Liza. Let's continue. Ah. We're hitting it twice. Oh, let's see that link. Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff in there on his button change. So, person here, I bet, is going to be Tim. Right. So, well, why is that different for assumptions? Am I tracking the one I want to show? Okay, so I think from what I'm hearing and seeing, it's something. I'm running through people and getting a person, and then I'm setting the sheet presented. But which person are we talking about? I think is, yeah, they're not doing a simple view, but what I saw running though was it popped up this the first time for Liza and then for Tim, and then maybe it did it so fast. Well, let me turn the breakpoint off. I don't know where it is. I'll just delete all breakpoints. Okay, let's. Oh, I'm still. Okay, so I think it's popping it up and then putting Tim up really quick. Well, I couldn't see it. All right, I have person. And I use there. Well, I can tell one difference from assumptions is assumptions breaks out this thing into assumption view. And then assumption view, I think, is what has the action on it. Yes. Okay, so I don't know why. I don't know if something changed or it was always doing this and I just never noticed because we just don't use the people that much. But I think what's going on is I think isEditing presented. I think this sheet, because of where I've placed this in, not that one, sorry, this one. I've placed this down at the level of an individual thing, but there's only one bit of state that's going for everybody. And I think maybe it's I think when it's opening, maybe it's grabbing this person, all of them at once. I think each one has that view. Okay, I'm not sure. That's not where I thought I'd be working, but let's see if we can figure this one out. So I believe what I can do is, yeah, it's showing the last person, I think. I don't know. We can create another one though, right? So let's try that. We'll make it Zach so he shows up at the bottom. December 2010. Okay. And now if I edit Tim, I get Zach. so yeah, you're right. It's showing the last person apparently. All right, let's extract. Okay, I want to get to the similarity to this one. he has assumption view. That's the only one per person or per assumption. And he does all that in assumption view. Over here. Okay. So this thing has this stuff, and he's got his own state for that. Okay, so let's do that. Whoops. Now, do I have person view already? No. Okay. I didn't make sure I put that in the right place. It's good. All right. All right, now what do we need? We need a person, we need a flag, and we need the people. That's not how you do it. And this thing is going to have to take a person. Okay, so this stuff down to here. Nope. You shouldn't need people. That's an environment variable. That should not be required. think this is being used locally. But this one is. Okay. That's better. Okay, so again, the original had one isEdit flag for everybody, and I think we were seeing the last one win, but now we have each one in a separate view with its own separate state, and so it only goes when it should. All right, and let's make sure Tim is fine, and we're not seeing that initial pop-up either. Let me run it. Oh, I did run it fresh. Okay, but I'll do it again just to be quite careful. Okay, good. I wonder how long that's been a problem. Okay, so that's worth mentioning. We did remove none. Okay. All right, well, let's take a break. We'll come back and have another run at DateSpecifierView. All right, see you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Okay, so, well, the reason we were looking at person view originally is edit person view calls month year view, I think. Yeah, there it is. Okay, and that just edits a month year. Well, that explains why month year view grew up the way it did in the date spec view, I guess. Well, maybe month year view itself is okay. Maybe we need to wrap this in a date, like a month year date view or something, and make that work off the date spec, and then it's going to use month year view to do its work. Let's try that rather than mutilating. This thing doesn't want a date spec around, so it doesn't seem fair to, force that in when it's just going to get torn apart and thrown away. All right, so month year view, where's that called? All right, so I'm going to make a month year date view. In fiume. Okay. And he certainly needs this. Okay. And let's see what else he needs. The date type, I don't know that he cares about that. In the month year, well, that he's going to want as local state, so we can pass that into month year view. All right, so let's see if we can get the month year view right. Okay, he passes that in. If it changes, well, that's where we want to be more like these other ones. All right, let's pass the month year date view. Maybe this belongs on top for now. Well, no, that can't be right. Okay, let's take the... Okay, I'm going to close some stuff. AssumedDateView has its own function. Okay, so this thing, when month year view changes its stuff, we update the date spec to correspond to it. That seems rightish. And so we don't need that stuff there. Okay. so if we edit this, he defaults to that. Let's change it. July 2030. Update. This is income. July 2030. Okay. So it took, and it, oh, okay. We're not quite there. All right. So we had to do stuff at the beginning on this one too. Right? So just kind of do the equivalent. Okay, so we're setting the binding. We're setting the month year. Yeah, I don't know if I should give it the equivalent of this. Okay, I know there's syntax for case-led. Can I do it simpler? No. Okay, slightly better, I think. All right, so this thing is on there. Yeah, that's right. We need to pull this in. I think just like here we had to do we want to take the name, we want to take the month year that's there if there is one. So that's this. Otherwise, well, there's no general thing to look at. So I think this one is otherwise 2020 Jan. I think that's what we're saying. And I think I could even leave this off now. routine's pulling its weight, but that's okay for now. Okay, so hard-coded, yeah, so this pulls it if it exists, or that does. It defaults it otherwise. When we change the value, it stores it in the date spec with the new month year. All right. And we're calling that here. So our edit was not initialized, basically, or no longer. Month, year, good. Right, okay. And I don't know if I go back, yeah, it clears it, okay. Yeah, probably right. Okay, that seems decent. All right, now what's it doing here? Okay, so I think this is no longer needed. So I'm going to put this for a break. Because this happens, modifies the value that gets passed in, and then there's no more reason to modify it further. Okay. How can we test? I guess we got to create a new one and edit it again. Well, let's edit first. Okay, 2030, make it 2035, and update. Good. So what triggered this case? Oh, okay. A new one may trigger this case, yeah. Not quite that good. Okay, so when I click month year, that should theoretically select January 2020, even though I haven't moved anything. So we'll create. Emergency temporal shift. Welcome, first time. Yeah, so what we're doing is I'm setting up, you tell it like your various sources of income or assets or whatever, and then we're projecting out basically 30 years, either your net income, or you can look at how things are going by month, and we can get detailed view on that. I guess that's the navigation stack we have. The other thing that's in here is you have this notion of scenarios, and so when you define a scenario, you're defining there are two possible paths. Okay, I turned off boat, but let's take boat. So now there's everything here with income, or everything here except not income, job 2, but boat. And so the boat, well, we have lots of income, so we can make it work. Most of the time when we put the boat in, it's been impossibly terrible because it costs you like $1 million over 30 years. Boat owners probably agree. All right, but this has the two scenarios. You're clearly doing Well, for your net income, this is a little lower. So that's about 12, and this is about 14. So, not a dramatic difference, but there's definitely some penalty for the boat in this case. And you could stack up multiple scenarios if you wanted. So I think once you get to, 10 or 15 scenarios, it's kind of as much as you can handle mentally, and it definitely slows this down. But what we've been doing at the moment is we changed the way let's create one. We have these choices for how are you going to talk about the date. You could just leave it alone and just, from whenever you start to whenever you end. No start date, no end date. You could put a month, year on something. You could put an age or an assumed date. That's a set of variables that you can adjust with a slider and see what happens. But we're moving in a month, year. We're trying to make sure that when you create it, I should check the default one, but this is editing one, so that's one thing we needed to check. So I'll give this a name, 355, an amount. Okay. And we want to make sure June 2030 shows up. Okay, so June 2030. If we edit it, it should come in with that. We can edit. Well, if I leave it alone, maybe too late. Let me do it with actually leaving it alone. All right. Okay, thanks for joining. Come back anytime. All right, and then edit. Okay, I think we've proven this part. So the last one then is the new case. And that's where we're coming. Right. If the new case coming in with something doesn't work, then this revealed the problem. Okay. So here's a new case. I'll fill in this. It doesn't do octal. Okay, and we'll take the default January 2020. Oh. Okay. Let me clear some out. Whoops, didn't want to do that. All right, let's add that boat back. Okay, there's the boat. Okay, we'll do that again. Make sure we get the flow right. Okay, so if I select this, now we did. Why is that not? Oh, we had that on appear thing, right? Or something? Did we have to do that for assumptions view? No. How are we making that? We hit that at some level. What was that? Was it DateView? Yeah. Okay. I think we're bound to do the same thing. Yeah, that's my hope. We'll get rid of that. Where's my dear debut? Okay, so I think when this appears, we need to update values, or when it changes. And I think you might be able to. Is there one? Yeah, you can say initial true. Somebody could. So normally unchanged waits until something has changed, but this does it regardless. Okay, so we'll run that. Okay, so when this comes in, it defaults to unspecified. When we switch the tab, it changes that. But now, hopefully, it's picking up that January 2020. Lousy job. Probably writing a book. Okay. All right. Job 400, January 2020. Yay. Yeah, exactly. Now, the question to me is, does AssumedDateView... Oh, it does both. On change of selection, update values. So I think we could pull this down. Selections in scope. I'll learn these tricks eventually. I'm not fast at it. Okay, this should be below the init. Okay, so this is assumptions. Oh, it was this though. Assume date. Okay, so I'm going to click this and update right away, and it should pick up last day of work. Last day of work. Okay. Boy, the range on that is really awful, isn't it? Oh, there's another one we can fix. Let's at least start at 2020. Wait a minute. Last day of work, minimum 2020. Max 2100. Okay, yeah. All right, so we again let's do this. Come in. And then set this without touching it. And he updates it. Yes. Okay. I think that's good. All right. So I think we're at a working state. We're not done, but we extracted date, month, year, date view to work more similarly to assumed date view. Part of cleaning up date specifier view. Okay, so I think we're at the point, this is the only situation left. And well, I think we can do this kind of thing here again. Change of date type, initial true. We're going to make date spec equals that. Now we could extract this into its own view. I think it's minimal enough. All right, and then so who calls this? There's that on change. And there. Okay. So I think it's the case that this can go away now, because if you change date type, that gets triggered. These guys, if they're shown, they take care to make sure it initializes correctly. So that should be good. All right. Good theory, huh? And then this is no longer called. We'll delete that in a moment if this goes okay. All right, so creating a new one. And we haven't done anything to that. So that one should be, we should come back and be unspecified. I don't think that'll be a problem. Okay, 406, unspecified. Let's do an edit. Change him to that. January 2020. Let's do an age. Weighs 70. Good. And an assumed. And let's change it. Okay. And we'll do another one of these. So I'm just taking what the default is. Leave unspect is unspect. Okay. Good. This is what I like to do. Delete big chunks. Okay. Now, what else is going on here? The initialization, date type. Well, month, year, I don't think we need. Always good, yeah. Usually it's a good sign. Sometimes it means we're just throwing it away and giving up and starting over. All right, so I'm not going to modify this anymore. Let's make sure that was really useless, that field. It would show up on the edit if it fails to pick up the starting date on an edit, then we know it's not there. So well, let's do this edit then. All right, let's give it a starting date. February 2030. Okay, and then the edit should pick it up. Yeah. Okay, good sign. All right, now all of this is mapping everybody to their right date spec type. Okay. Well, let's check it in first. We deleted a field. That's good enough. I wonder if we can move this into the date specifier. And maybe it's label. I don't know. It's I mean, it's kind of part of the view. It's kind of not, maybe. I mean, I guess it is, because if it was locale changed, that we would have to update it. But having it know the keys is not terrible, because the only reason for this, well, no, there's two reasons, aren't there? I was going to say the only reason is so you can just list them out in your picker, but that's not true, because you also need to know which field are you going to edit. Now, date type, now we can take this off. So wrap value knows these. Well, I guess he could know his type, but somebody's going to have to know the whole list. All right, so you set the date type so you know the initial value for the selector. And then when that's selected, I mean, these are really strings. Yeah, it is a specific order. I mean, if we had like a static list of these names or these, well, I could leave it a type. What I'd like to do is do some sort of map, but I can't map these because they have attributes on them. At least some of them do. And we tried that the other day. It won't put it in a map like that. However, it could know it. I guess what I'm asking is, what if this belonged to date specifier, and then an individual one knew his date specifier type, and then you're switching. Well, we don't have to do this anymore. We would just have date specifier type and set it on the way in based on the wrapped value. And there always is one because we default them. Okay, let's try that. That would leave this as still something you look at to decide what editor is appropriate. And then you could still have the all cases. Yeah, let's pull that in. Okay, so I'm going to move this part to the model. Date specifier. I mean, put it next to this other enum. All right, but if you ask, here's that unescapable case. Yeah, there's another one with this. I would love to be able to declare fields on enums and have them used across everybody. We don't have the case here, but I've wanted it before. And I'm still sort of surprised there's no way to get, like, you have a raw value that we can get the string from it, but it would almost be like base value or something, and maybe have some enum like cases for this, I guess. I don't know. I really have wished for it multiple times. All right, now this should be neutral to everybody. Well, we'll run unit tests and something's broken, so. I think he just has to build. Now, am I right about... Okay, we'll get to that. I guess we're still going to need it. That we'll just pull it from the instance, because this is what's our starting value. But we need something to represent that selection. So I don't think the field can go away. Oh, good. Okay, so. Okay, so now I think self._dateSpec. Well, we want self.dateType equals datespec.wrappedValue.type. We need that text later. Okay, so far so good. Associated value. Wow, that's... All right, I think what I did was this. Oh man. It said clean canceled. Okay. Oh, add unknown default. Okay. Really? Huh. Okay. All right. So I think that can be there. All right, this is much tighter than we started with today. I'm happy about that. I think this, remembering this on change with initial and making sure that's there, that is a good thing. Yeah. Whoops, I lost you. Associated values, I think, are more. That's what I'm doing here. Is I'm putting associated values, but I sometimes have a situation where I want, like, maybe I want all of these to be identifiable. Well, I can do it like that, as a var with a return to value, but no actual state. But like maybe I want everybody to have a timestamp or something, and so I would love to just be able to do public var timestamp of, I'll just say int, just to get it compiling as far as it will until it realizes what I'm asking for. And I would love that. That implies that everybody has that property, and go from there. But it's not an option. Okay. I guess we'll run that. I've got one more quick thing to try if that's doing okay, and it's in assumptions view. All right, so adding one. I'll make it negative just for variety. All right, so if we take assumed date, it should pick up last day of work with that value. Yay, okay. Is there anything not checked in? Okay, so simplify DateSpecifierView. All right, assumptions view. It's a list style since I believe I'm doing a list here. Yeah. Okay, the suggestion was and the style is inset group list style. So this should give us that sort of gray background with the sections really delineated on there. I don't know if I'll like it or not, but it struck me as it's not happening. I don't see any difference. Have I done something to preclude it? I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not doing any weird background color thing or anything like that. Okay. Well, let's revert that. All right. Well, we fixed multiple problems with this deferred view or DateSpecifierView. We didn't get to disallowing duplication. But I'm much happier that it's simpler, and I think we developed an approach that seems like it can work next time too, and we'll have that habit of paying attention. Like, do I initialize it on the way in? Do I set it up to on change to deal with it and save it on the way out? That all seems good. All right, so tomorrow, I think some of these error things maybe are good to look at. Yeah, that might be worth doing. That's kind of a functionality thing. It's not date-based, but it was the default it's really default, and it's kind of default growth or interest rate. There was some refactoring, deferring those. No, we'll to be on Leia. That feels like it's bigger than a session. Possibilities of struct, that feels maybe too big. What I will do at some point, hopefully, maybe after a break tomorrow, we'll pause. We'll stop the coding work and just, I guess, demo our way through all we've accomplished on this. Maybe we'll start with the code walking through all the code and just seeing where things are, because there's quite a bit here. We've been doing this. What is this? 55, right? So multiply by 57. Well, if it was 60 times 2.5, right? That's 120, 150 hours. So kind of a month of very, very full time. No meetings, heads down. So this is, we've spent a month's worth of hours, a working month's worth of hours on it. And there's a fair bit to show for it. I'm not quite sure how I feel about all the views and all that there's so many, but that's what we'll take a walk through. Maybe that's where we'll start tomorrow. We'll start with a walkthrough, see if there's some twiddly stuff we want to do on the way. I don't think this one will take us very long at all. And we may find some others and then walk our way through a demo of the functionality. But I think that'll give us something. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow if you can. And otherwise, it's always Monday through Thursday, 2 to 4:30 Eastern, 6 to 8:30 UTC. Blanking out on that for some reason. I will be gone a couple weeks from now. I have a week off, but normally we're there during the week. All right. Thanks, Mudshark, in particular, again, as always. We'll get there. All right. Well, thanks and have a good evening. Bye-bye.